Hello and welcome to Sports News. Nigeria's Flying Eagles will begin playing test matches at their Kaduna training base from tomorrow. The team have been training in Kaduna for about a week now. Their first match will be against Jamba Academy of Kaduna, while their second game will be on Saturday morning against Standard FC of Zaria at the Amadou Bello Stadium in Kaduna. FIFA presidential candidate Jerome Champagne said that he supports the German FA's proposal for the World Football governing body to give Qatar an ultimatum to improve their human rights record or not be allowed to host the 2022 World Cup. Qatar has been widely criticized over its treatment of migrant workers in the construction industry and says it is working to address the problem. In the UEFA Champions League, Manchester City secured a ticket in the knockout stage after a 2-0 victory over AS Roma at the Estadio Olimpico. Sambro Nasri set the pace 10 minutes into the second half before Pablo Zabaleta sealed the win in the 86th minute. Schalke also qualified for the next round after a lone goal victory over FC Maribor. In other results, Mikel Obi was on target as Chelsea defeated Sporting Lisbon 3-1. Messi scored his 75th Champions League goal in Barcelona 3-1 over Paris Saint-Germain to top Group F. Finally, in the Indian Premier League, Northeast United had to settle for a last place in the India Premier League in the league table after drawing 1-0 at home to Mumbai City in Guwahati. Both teams were already out of contention of qualifying for the semi-finals, leaving just pride to play for. The hosts took the lead in the 33rd minute when Spanish forward Koke scored from the penalty spot. Northeast United held on to the lead until 6 minutes of normal time remaining when Mumbai's Czech midfielder Jan Stonhazel's cross was headed into the net by Sushil Singh. And that's it on Sports News. The News at 10 continues shortly with Ijoma.
Over now to the foreign scene, and Pakistani education activist Malala Yousafzai has become the recipient, and the youngest recipient that is, of the Nobel Peace Prize. Here's our correspondent Pt.4 Fagbemi with more.
Ms. Yousafzai and Mr. Sariati received their awards from the chairman of the Norwegian Nobel Committee in the presence of King Harald V of Norway. Malala said she was there to stand up for the rights of the forgotten and frightened children and raise their voice rather than pity them. On his part, Mr. Sadiati said receiving the prize was a great opportunity to further his work against child slavery.
Well, in fact, I'm very proud to be the first Pashtun, the first Pakistani, and the youngest person to receive this award. I'm also honored to receive this award together with Kailash Satyarthi, who has been a champion for children's rights for a long time.
In the United States, the UN and human rights groups have called for the prosecution of U.S. officials involved in what a Senate report called the brutal CIA interrogation of al-Qaeda suspects. A top UN human rights envoy said there had been a clear policy orchestrated at a high level, but the CIA has defended its actions in the years after the 9/11 attacks on the U.S., saying they saved lives. Finally, it seems trouble still looms for South African athlete Oscar Pistorius. A judge has ruled that prosecutors can appeal against his acquittal on murder charges. The Paralympic star was jailed for 5 years in October for killing his girlfriend Reva Steenkamp on February 14, 2013. And those are the top stories making the rounds.
Thanks a lot, Pt.4. And the main news again. The Federal High Court in Abuja has found former President Olusegun Obasanjo guilty of contempt over the launch of his book, My Watch, despite an order by the court stopping the event from holding. The All Progressive Congress has kicked off its presidential primary to elect the man who will slug it out with President Goodluck Jonathan in 2015. Voting has still not commenced, as delegates are making last-minute consultations with party leaders before the kicks off. And Pakistani education activist Malala Yousafzai becomes the youngest recipient of the Nobel Peace Prize. Well, that's the news at 10 tonight. Thanks so much for staying with us. I'm Ijoma Onyato. Good night.